Parkour is it's a physical discipline.
It's a training of the body.
Getting up and around and through your environment.
You see an obstacle, you see a concrete ledge, you see a bench, and you want to find the coolest, the most like stylish and efficient way to get over it.
It's a really, really interesting way to get together and work out.
For me, I wouldn't call it an extreme sport.
We reduce the amount of risk with our training, with our conditioning, with our confidence in ourselves.
My name's Jackson Miller, and over the past 4 weeks, I've spent a great deal of time with members of the LA area parkour and freerunning subculture so that I can share and analyze my experiences with you from a cultural anthropological standpoint. This documentary contains the findings of my fieldwork. I started doing parkour 4 years ago. I am essentially an insider to the culture, but it's my goal to study it without factoring in any personal biases. My history provides me with two advantages. One, I already have a rich understanding of the common emic perspectives within the culture, and two, I have dozens of contacts at all levels in the culture to interview. I am my own gatekeeper.
My name is Brooke Hunter. I've been doing parkour for almost a year now.
My name's Rob Deans. I've been doing parkour pretty sporadically for about a year, but I've really picked up in the last 3 months. I've been coming a lot more often.
And I am Gabby Martin. I'm 22, and I've been doing parkour for about 2 months now.
My name is Joseph Paloma. I am 23 years old, and I am the organizer for Parkour Los Angeles.
Now that we've met my contacts, let's learn a little more about parkour. Technically, parkour's been around forever, it just never had a name. In France in the 90s, however, a man named David Bell and his friends were inspired by David's military firefighter father, and they decided that as people, they had a moral responsibility to be strong and agile like our ancestors, so that they would be able to take care of themselves and others in any situation. They trained so that their surroundings were no longer hindrances, but instead opportunities to overcome, using the movements they were developing. Disciples traveled from across the world to learn from them, and soon the discipline spread to the UK and eventually the rest of the world. David believed parkour was about efficiency, but some others believed that freedom of expression was the point. This caused a rift and resulted in the term freerunning. This was an enormous issue in early parkour culture, but eventually, around 5 years ago, everyone seemed to put aside their differences, and today, the terms are used somewhat interchangeably.
There's a lot of controversy in the community to what parkour and freerunning is, and people say if you do flips, if you do this, you're a freerunner. But really it all comes from the same place. We're all here to move, and we're all here to have fun and learn.
It's about bringing people together and finding yourself in it and overcome challenging obstacles. So I really don't think it matters if it's freerunning or parkour.
In the UK, there's a huge parkour culture, but in the US, where it's newer, the culture is smaller.
The parkour culture in the US right now, it's growing a lot. It's starting to come overseas. The athletes from Europe are moving over to the United States, obviously, because that's where films are made. That's where Hollywood is. So it's growing a lot in California right now, and it's only going to get bigger.
As my contacts explain, California in particular has a rich parkour culture.
I think it goes back to that skater culture, the surfer culture.
Gabby tells me that she was interested in parkour when she lived in Tennessee, but couldn't find anyone to train with.
And it's not to be found. Nobody does it. Then I move out here, and they're everywhere. People are everywhere. Tons of people do parkour out here, especially like Santa Monica and places like that. You can be jumping off stuff and people don't even give you a second glance. Like, they might watch you, like sometimes they gather around and watch, but they don't treat you like you're just gonna kill yourself or something.
Another thing is that Hollywood is out here, so a lot of people from other states have moved out here to become part of that.
Basically, if you do parkour and you're known in parkour in California, you can make a living out of it.
Despite the popularity of parkour here, it is still a relatively small culture, and for this reason the internet is and was vital to the growth and day-to-day functioning of the parkour culture in all countries.
In terms of connecting our community, it's so vastly important.
The internet really is our main hub of communication.
It's been the reason why this has kind of been blowing up.
The most important functions of the internet seem to be forums, meetup groups, and video sharing. Parkour cultures wouldn't exist without videos, since nearly everyone who does it started because they saw a video and were inspired.
And they kind of see it and they go, oh, this is what I've always been wanting to do. Videos influence parkour a lot in people who train because it helps them learn new things and see different types of movement. It gets you excited, it gets you pumped to see other people doing what you're doing or going beyond what you're doing.
And YouTube is a way for an individual to showcase their talents.
And it just shows the movement of all the different people around the world and kind of connects us in a way.
First, there is APK, or AmericanParkour.com, a website and forum that is in theory for the whole country, but is mainly used by those on the East Coast, especially around Washington, D.C., where it is hosted. Most others prefer to use state or regional sites. In California, there is pkcali.com, which is for all of Southern California and has small subgroups in individual areas, and in NorCal, there is sfpk and baparkour.com. These are all sites with forums. Below the LA area is SDPK, which is a group that simply uses the San Diego section of PK Cali to communicate, unlike PKLA, which uses its own site and is a bigger group that meets at a separate location in the LA area every week. All of these groups function loosely like tribes. Though beginners often stay with one group because they are more comfortable there or because they are simply unaware of other groups, all of the groups do intermingle, and it is not necessary to identify oneself as a member of any one group.
We still have jams together. I think they're trying to do it every 6 months where NorCal hosts a jam and then SoCal hosts a jam, and people from the north come down and the people from the south go up, and just trying to foster more community.
So what's a jam? Jams are big meetups where people from all different areas gather to have fun and try out bigger moves. Training sessions are smaller meetups where people from one area train and work on getting better. Gym sessions are meetups at gymnastics and martial arts gyms, where moves that would be dangerous to try outside prematurely can be practiced.
So we can train safely and work on bigger tricks and stuff that you wouldn't necessarily want to toss outside for the first time.
And the gym sessions are cool because it allows you to go beyond your risk, your comfort zone.
You have that environment where you're not going to get hurt, so you can do pretty much anything you want.
Many people feel it is also important to train by oneself.
Yeah, I do think there is a place for solo training. There's always a time and a place for it because parkour is about finding yourself. I throw on my iPod, I get in the mode.
I believe that the things that you have without question are the things that you do when you're alone, and then the things that are a little bit more sketchy you do with other people. So it's good to train every day and just repetition and just drill the basics, drill everything you know.
All of my contacts also believe, however, that regularly training with others is necessary.
You're a lot more likely to develop yourself more with other people because you have someone kind of cheering you on and making sure that like whatever you're doing is safe. Not only do you learn when someone else teaches you, but when you teach other people, you learn more about your own movement.
You see them do something like, oh, I want to know how to do that.
You can watch them do it and they can explain how they did it and push you to do it.
What else do they like about the culture?
Well, everyone's here just to help each other and get each other where they want to be.
The reason why I stayed is mostly for the people.
The attitude towards new people is extremely open, actually. We're super welcoming.
Once we see someone new trying it out, we want to embrace them, we want to bring them in. It's like a big family.
However, I found I learned more from asking what things they didn't like, were concerned about, or created controversy.
People who are elitist. They isolate themselves from other people.
My contacts explain how as certain people get better, they exclude beginners and associate mainly with other elite people, typically unintentionally. At jams, the best group always hangs at the back and does its own thing, eventually splitting up and meeting back towards the end. Sometimes, exclusive professional teams form, but I have found that aside from such groups, parkour culture is strongly egalitarian, though it still has and achieves status gained by working hard, having skill, and being humble.
In the parkour community, ideally there is no status. I'm just a person who's participating in the sport just like you. But in reality, there is a little bit of status. For example, the people who are on the Ultimate Parkour Challenge, people tend to look up to them.
The Ultimate Parkour Challenge on MTV was the latest of several recent competitions, which is another topic of concern. Parkour was intended to be non-competitive, focused on finding and bettering oneself without the need for motivations such as winning and losing.
I personally don't have a problem with it. I think that competition helps develop people. My opinion on these competitions is they're not necessarily a bad thing, but they might give the wrong view of what parkour is. They show it more as an extreme sport.
The way parkour is portrayed in the media is very important to the culture because it is often already misunderstood by the public.
They're relating it to vandalism and stuff like that when we care about the environment and we care, like, if you ask us to clean up a wall that we put a shoe mark on, we're gonna do it.
Something called the Leave No Trace initiative was even started to clean off shoe marks and pick up trash in order to openly combat negative views.
We want to keep good relations with the people who own the places that we like to play at.
If there is a complaint from the public, the police asks the group to leave.
And we kind of move around as we get kicked out. So we go to one spot, get kicked out, move to another spot, get kicked out, move to another spot.
However, if there is no complaint, the group is usually allowed to stay as the police and staff get to know the culture and its values of safety, health, persistence, and respect. As time passes, this culture will continue to grow exponentially and parkour will become more and more a part of society. Now parkour clothes and shoes are even being made to take advantage of this new market of athletes, and while some prefer the old sweats and running shoes, it is nice to have the option. Though no one can say for sure exactly what the future looks like for parkour, there is no doubt that it will be here and it will be big.
I really don't have any preference of where it'll be. I just know that I'll be doing it.